G'day everyone and welcome to the Trekzone Spotlight. Matt Miller with you in the Trekzone studio. On Thursday, TrekMovie.com exclusively revealed details about a fan being invited to pitch a new Trek TV series to Paramount executives. A day later, Michael Hinman of 1701news.com wrote an op-ed piece documenting his doubts about the validity of the story, questioning amongst other things the fact that a fan was being invited over seasoned professionals, many of whom have been knocked back. Michael also questioned why Paramount was doing the inviting when CBS owns the TV rights. Armed with some research, including his writing credit on Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, I decided to contact Michael Gummelt and ask for his side of the story. He joins me now on the phone from his Hawaiian vacation. Michael, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time out to have a chat with me.
Sure, no problem.
It must be an honour to be invited to pitch. How did it all come about? Where did it get started?
Well, I'd come up with this idea a long time ago, actually, and I've just been kind of playing with it over the years. And then at the end of 2013, I was feeling like Star Trek should be coming back for the 50th anniversary, but I hadn't heard any news about it. So I thought, well, why don't I just write up my idea and I'll put it out there and see what people think, And so I did. I wrote it up, and then in January of 2014, I put it online, and I sent it around to some industry people and couldn't really get anywhere with it. But, I was still pretty happy with it. I had called it Star Trek Beyond, which a name that I had picked out of about 100 different names I'd written down. And that one just felt right to me because it was about taking Star Trek into the future and going beyond the stories that have been told before and going, 200 years into the future and trying to present the show or structure the show in a way that Star Trek hasn't been done because it's been off the air for 10 years and TV's evolved since then. So in a lot of ways, I felt like that was a good title. And then over a year later, I heard rumors that Paramount was going to possibly name their next movie Star Trek Beyond. And I was like, well, that's an interesting coincidence. And so I expected to hear from them one way or another. And I did. And to my surprise, they offered to let me come in and pitch my idea. And, of course, I said yes. They probably don't even realize or remember that I'd had some experience writing Star Trek before. I had written Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, which was a video game that we had Raven Software made a while back. And that was fairly well received, but I'm not sure that was really any part of their decision. It was just a coincidence.
I was wondering whether that had given you a leg up. Obviously, fans loved it. It was the first first-person shooter in the Star Trek franchise, and I had endless hours of gameplay fun. But let's head back to the history of the project. With Paramount now calling the 13th movie Beyond, you changed your title to Star Trek Uncharted. Can you tell us a bit about the plot?
So, Star Trek Uncharted takes place 200 years after Kirk in his original 5-year mission. And it's the storyline is basically the Federation has pretty much expanded to encompass most of the galaxy. There's, still plenty of planets and systems that are no longer, that aren't officially part of the Federation, but after a huge war that had broken out about 30 years before the series starts, a lot of planets joined the Federation to kind of fight this common enemy. And so it kind of came up very quickly. But since then, things have been very quiet. There's been about 30 years of peace, or 25 years of peace. But at the same time, because the galaxy has mostly been explored and there's this huge bureaucracy now, Starfleet and the Federation have kind of stagnated a bit. Starfleet itself is more of a policing force than an exploration force, like it used to be. There's not as much to explore anymore. And what I'm trying to get at there is kind of a sense of the more modern political reality of the United States and the world in general. That, the United States doesn't really do much with space exploration anymore. We don't even have a manned space program anymore. And the United States isn't the world leader that it necessarily once was in terms of, economy and innovation so much. And so I'm kind of trying to bring a little bit of that political reality, modern political reality, back to Star Trek. And so by having this kind of galactic federation, the idea is that that kind of represents all of humanity, all those different races, the Andorians and Orions and Romulans and Klingons and Vulcans. That kind of represents all different facets of human personality and culture. And then take all of that, put it on a ship, and send it to Andromeda, and let us explore another galaxy and really meet something really new and different and maybe a little scary, really mysterious, and see how, different aspects of human nature, which is what all those, other races really represent, is different aspects of human nature, see how they interact with that. So the story is set 200 years after Kirk. They get a mysterious signal from Andromeda that's basically inviting us to go there. And so they dig up some crotchety old scientist who had this crazy idea about how to travel between galaxies. And they throw a bunch of, better credits at him, I guess. There's no money. But you know what I mean. They say, we're going to build it. We'll build it now. And he's like, all right, fine. It's about time you listen to me. And so they build the thing, and they assemble a crew. They put a ship together that's an exploration ship built for this mission. And it's got Starfleet personnel on it, but it also has a whole scientific expedition on it. And they're the ones who are in charge of the mission, whereas the captain is in charge of the ship. And so they kind of go out together, and the pilot script is about them coming together and going on this adventure to another galaxy, and then the series would continue from there. Subplots and character development carries over from episode to episode, and there's even my plan is, if this were to get made, right, would be to have each season be different from the last one. Something would happen at the end of each season that would basically change the premise for the next season. So, like, for example, at the end of the first season, 2 more ships would show up, and the starbase that they're building in Andromeda would be finished. And now it would be, instead of a lone ship mostly going out and exploring, it would be, a few ships out there with a starbase, and it's getting closer to the original series in terms of first contacts and exploring new planets and that sort of thing. But then by the 3rd season, it would be a little bit more about colonization and bringing more and more of the Milky Way to Andromeda. And then the 4th season would be Andromeda not being so happy with all these immigrants, basically.
It sounds really cool, so it can change and adapt as required because, as we all know, ratings drive the broadcast networks these days.
Trying to make it a little bit more realistic, real life, where, things change from year to year. Your situation changes. And I kind of take that cue from shows like Mad Men and Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, where new things going on in their lives, and it keeps each season fresh and interesting. You're not just doing the same formula, for 7 years.
Now, Michael, a number of professionals have had their pitches rejected. Why do you think Paramount has now had a change of heart?
Well, I don't think they necessarily had a change of heart. I think that they're just open to hearing ideas. I don't know that it means that they're going to make anything. They could just listen to my idea and say, thanks, we'll file that away, and thanks for coming in. I have no idea what they're going to say. And I'm, obviously there's the whole deal with CBS, where they actually, as from what I understand, have the rights to produce TV series. So I'm guessing that my best case scenario coming out of this would be to get another pitch meeting, this time with CBS.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Since the Viacom split in 2006, CBS has looked after the TV rights, while Paramount has looked after the movie franchise and been more active. Maybe they're looking at how your idea is going to fit in with the movies that they want to produce, and then they'll send it to CBS with their stamp of approval?
Yeah, could be. I mean, one of my goals with this, and one of the reasons I said it so far in the future, was, one, to just give it a fresh start so that it doesn't rely on new viewers knowing everything that Trekkies like us would know about every single episode previous series, right, in every single movie. The new viewers should be able to come in and experience it and enjoy it without being confused by a ton of old references. But you can still have enough, little references here and there that, long-term Trek fans would get, right? They pick up on those little things. But the other reason to set it so far in the future is so that it doesn't really matter whether it's in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek timeline or the original Prime timeline. It doesn't matter anymore because this takes place 200 years later. And this is a fresh start with new characters and a new mission. And then maybe as the series went on, you would get more and more into the lore of Star Trek. But I think the show would have to establish itself as its own show first and really prove that it's a good show on its own 2 feet, basically. And just a good show in general, not just a good Star Trek show, but just a good show.
Let's just get the show made. Get Star Trek back on TV where it belongs.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is I think Star Trek has to come back to TV. Even if they keep making movies, that's fine. I mean, you can have movies and TV shows going at the same time. Marvel's proven that. They've done a great job of that. DC is doing that. And, I would imagine that Paramount and CBS would be happy to have something of that scale, right? Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you've got movies going that come out, every few years, or, if they have spin-off movies every year, but then also have great TV shows that keep people entertained in between the movies and keep them coming back and, wanting to see what happens in that whole shared universe. So, ideally, I think it'd be smart, eventually, for them to do not just a new core Trek show, but like what I'm pitching, or something where it's about a ship exploring, but also do a Klingon show, like bring back Captain Worf and have him come and have his, have a show for him, and then do another show, and that can be like a lot of drama about Klingons and politics and that sort of stuff, which people love, and it's like a Game of Thrones with Klingons or something, right? But then also do like a Starfleet Academy show that's more aimed at teens and put on the CW, which CBS is a part owner of, I believe. Then you can satisfy lots of different audiences and support the movies.
I wrote an op-ed piece for Trekzone a few weeks back about Marvel and DC. They've got their universes organised. They've even got movies planned for the rest of the decade. Each element, be it TV series or movie, is supporting the others. The great thing is that tie-ins can happen, and if we did have, say, Starfleet Academy on the CW, Worf on Netflix and Uncharted on CBS, there can be all these tie-ins to get everyone across the series. And that would be awesome, and not too much of a stretch, because DC and Marvel are doing it at the moment.
You can tie in new movie plot lines with the show, like they do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You could have, Starfleet Academy can follow a group of students from all diverse different backgrounds coming together and trying to become a team, and that can be a struggle at first as they, have to learn to work together and respect each other and stuff. And then after a couple of years, you could do something where a war breaks out and they're forced to basically grow up a little too quickly, go to war. A couple of them may even die, and they have to deal with how that happens, and that war could be depicted in the movie. Maybe even one or two of them could be in the movie and get, and have a little scene in the movie. Maybe one of them gets killed or something in the movie. And so it all ties together like they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America or something. But that would really create that shared universe feel that that I think anyone would love to have. Any studio would love to have something like that.
Absolutely, Michael. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your holiday to have a chat with me. I better let you go because I'm sure I'm hearing the beach calling your name. Good luck with the pitch, and I hope to hear from you in the future.
Thank you very much.
September 1966. One opening monologue.
Space. The final frontier.
One unforgettable theme tune. September 2016. Trekzone.org will celebrate 50 years since the premiere. In a big way.